From the Oklahoman Newsroom, this is a Thunder Update. I'm Jenny Carlson. The last day of the NBA regular season is upon us, and it's an important one for the Thunder, even though they are not playing tonight, Wednesday night, but their likely first-round opponent will be. Eric Horn joins us on the phone to try to break down this madness. Eric, it's more confusing than trying to figure out who's going to get into the NCAA tournament or the college football playoff. There's three teams right now that are in play: the Blazers, the Grizzlies, and you also have the Mavericks. Let's talk most likely scenarios. What's most likely to happen in these games, and how does it affect who's going to play the Thunder?
Well, first you start with Portland, and Portland's in the 5 seed right now, which would have them against the Clippers in the first round of the playoffs, as the Clippers are the 4. Now, Portland's probably going to want to avoid the Thunder and avoid dropping to the 6. So Portland plays Denver tonight, and Denver's not a very good team, so you'd imagine that Portland's going to go out and try and win that game. So your most likely scenario is if Portland wins tonight, that would put it in between the Mavericks and the Grizzlies, two teams that the Thunder are very familiar with for the 6. And the Grizzlies have to go up against history tonight. So the Grizzlies are trying to go on the road and stop the Golden State Warriors from winning their 73rd game, which would be the most in a single season in NBA history. Whether the Warriors would rest guys or not, I think they'd still beat the Grizzlies, who are beat up. And I don't think the Warriors are going to be resting guys. So it really falls to the scenario looks like it's going to be Dallas in the first round as the 6th seed against the Thunder.
Yeah, it really does, Eric. And like you say, I think under normal years, under normal circumstances, you'd likely see the top-seeded Warriors resting guys at this point in the season. But with 73 on the docket, that seems unlikely. Now, a team that is part of this scenario that we think is likely to rest starters is the Spurs. They play the Mavericks. Does that give the Mavericks an upper hand and continue this scenario where it looks like the Mavs are the likely first-round opponent for the Thunder?
It does, because it's the second game of a back-to-back for the Spurs. They played the Thunder last night, and they actually played their starters, and they beat the Thunder's reserves. So you'd imagine on the second night of a back-to-back, last game of the season, on the road, the Spurs are going to rest their guys, and the Mavericks would have a better opportunity of winning that game and avoiding the Thunder should they fall.
Now, lastly, Eric, a couple of these games are going to be late. We mentioned that chase for 73 happening out to the west, a later start. Also, the Portland game, a later start. So people maybe start to get their playoff legs under them, stay up and watch these games. But as people are watching, you know, we've talked about matchups and those sorts of things. Obviously, the Thunder has played the Mavericks, has played the Grizzlies a ton. Is there a good matchup, a best matchup for the Thunder in these scenarios? And is there a team that of these three you'd say, hey, they'd most likely want to avoid in the first round?
I think the Grizzlies. I think a lot of teams want the Grizzlies because of the injuries they've had this year. I mean, they're not going to have their best player, Marc Gasol. They're not going to have Mike Conley, Mario Chalmers, who's had some success against the Thunder this year. He's not even on the team anymore. They waived him once he got injured for the year. So the Grizzlies are somebody that everybody wants. Now, in terms of a worse matchup for the Thunder, I would probably say the Blazers, because they've got a younger team. They've got some guys that can shoot from the perimeter, and Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. The Mavericks don't really seem like they'd be a threat because the Thunder went 4-0 against them this year. But it is tough to beat a team that many times and go into a series with the kind of mentality that you dominated a team all year. But the Blazers would probably be the toughest team for them in the first round.
All right, here are those game times tonight. 7 o'clock tip for Spurs at Mavericks. Then you've got 9:30 starts for the Denver at Portland game and the Grizzlies at Warriors game. We'll find out after tonight when the Thunder will start their playoff series. It will be this weekend. It will be in Oklahoma City. But as I said, after these teams are determined, then we'll learn, is it Saturday, is it Sunday, and what is that game time? Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.